The words slipped out of my mother's mouth like she was asking me to take out the trash. You can take the guest room. Or move out. My sister Jade perched on the couch like she'd never left. Flashed that practiced smile and added, "Great if you're gone by the weekend." Ivy, really. I was 30 years old, standing in the home I'd kept afloat for half a decade. And in one casual breath, they erased me. That was the moment something inside me quietly snapped. Not with rage, but with perfect, icy clarity. My name is Ivy. 5 years ago, my father dropped dead in the driveway while carrying in groceries. One heartbeat, he was laughing about the cracked kitchen tile he was finally going to replace. The next, he was gone. Heart failure. Just like that, we buried him on a Friday while the rain hammered the cemetery tent. Jade flew in from wherever she was living the glamorous life. Wore huge sunglasses indoors, sobbed theatrically into a silk scarf, and was gone by Sunday brunch. I stayed. Someone had to hold Mom together when she couldn't even stand. Someone had to make the mortgage payments on the house Dad never finished renovating. Someone had to be the adult, so I became the background music of their grief. I turned down the promotion that would have sent me to Portland. Rejected the company apartment with the 15-minute commute and the rent so low it felt like a gift. I stayed because Dad's last whispered words to me had been, "Take care of her, Ivy. She just needs more grace." Grace, I gave her 5 years of it, measured in quiet paychecks and swallowed insults. Mom never saw me. She only saw who I wasn't. You should wear more color. Ivy. Jade lights up a room. Why don't you smile like your sister? Even for someone like you, 30 isn't too late to find a man. Every word landed like a small, precise cut. I smiled through them, cooked the dinners, cleaned the gutters, kept the lights on. I thought if I just kept showing up, one day she'd look at me and really see her daughter instead of Jade's understudy. I was wrong. Then came the Thursday I walked in 2 hours late, exhausted from work, and found Jade curled on the couch like a wounded bird, tissues everywhere. Blake, her husband, whose greatest skill was looking expensive, stared at his phone, like he was waiting for an Uber to another life. Mom fluttered around them with tea and shortbread as if royalty had descended. Ivy. She sang. Guess who's home? I looked at Jade's red-rimmed eyes and already knew. Brent, sorry, Blake lost his job. Jade sniffled. We're behind on rent. Landlord gave us 2 weeks. Mom wrapped an arm around her. So they're moving in. Family helps family. I felt the floor tilt. They're moving in. Where? Mom didn't even blink. Your room's the biggest. The air left my lungs. And me. You'll figure something out, she said, like I always did. You're good at that. Jade gave a tiny shrug, lips twitching with the ghost of a smirk. Sorry, she mouthed, but her eyes danced. That night I tried reason. For adults in this house is impossible. I told Mom in the kitchen while Jade and Blake rested. She shrugged. I always wanted Jade back. She belongs here. I've been paying the mortgage, Mom. It's in my name, she said flatly. And you act like you're doing me some grand favor. I never asked you to stay. The slap I'd been waiting for finally landed, years late and twice as hard. Next morning, Jade knocked on my door, voice syrupy. Hey, if you could be out by Saturday? Blake and I kind of need the space. She leaned in the doorway, glossy hair perfect, eyes bright with victory. Come on, Ivy. You've been living like a nun. This'll be good for you. Fresh start. I shut the door in her face. Then I sat on the edge of my bed and opened the manila folder. I'd ignored for years. The Portland transfer. The company apartment. The life I'd said no to. My fingers didn't even shake when I made the call. By Friday, I had the keys to a bright little studio 10 minutes from work. Movers booked. Transfer approved. I packed in silence while they planned a welcome home. Barbecue and argued over paint colors for my kitchen. Saturday morning, the truck rolled up. I stood in the driveway in jeans and a ponytail, clipboard in hand. Heart strangely calm. The movers were surprised by how much was already boxed and waiting. "You sure you're taking everything?" one asked, eyebrow raised. "Everything," I said, and smiled for the first time in days. We took the bed, the bookshelves. The coffee maker I'd assembled at 2 a.m. after a 12-hour shift. The couch I'd saved 6 months for. The dining table I'd refinished myself. The fridge I'd bought when the old one died. The microwave, the toaster, the kettle, every plate, every towel, every throw pillow that had ever brought me comfort. I took the TV they'd watched for years, the router they'd streamed on. The router password scribbled on the fridge. WHITEBOARD-gone. By the time the truck pulled away, the house was a hollow shell. Dust outlines on the floor like crime scene chalk marks where my life used to be. I dropped the keys at the new building. Walked into my studio, and the silence hit me like warm water. No humming fridge with a death rattle. No passive-aggressive sighs from the next room. Just sunlight on bare walls and the faint smell of fresh paint. I sat on the mattress on the floor and exhaled so deeply I felt it in my bones. That night, my phone buzzed itself. Horse.mom. Jade Blake. Missed. Calls stacking like accusations. I turned it off. Made tea with the kettle I'd remembered to pack. And watched the city sparkle from my tiny balcony. Peace tasted better than revenge.Monday. They showed up at my job. Somehow they'd found the building security called down. Ivy. Your mom and sister are in the lobby. They seem upset. I stayed in the loading bay until they gave up and left. But I knew this wasn't over. Not yet. That evening, I drove back to the house one last time. The porch light glowed, but inside looked dark and strangely small. I still had the spare key. I let myself in. Mom stood in the kitchen doorway, arms crossed so tight her knuckles went white. Jade hovered behind her. Eyes swollen, hair pulled back like she hadn't slept. The house smelled wrong. Empty, like a store after closing hours. No hum of the fridge. No soft glow from the lamp I used to read under. Just the two of them and the echo of everything missing. What the hell did you do, Ivy? Mom's voice cracked on my name. I closed the door softly behind me. I took what was mine. You took everything, Jade whispered. There's not even a fork left. I let the silence sit there, heavy and deliberate. Mom stepped forward, face pale under the harsh overhead light. The fridge? The couch? The microwave? You left us with nothing. Nothing. I repeated, tasting the word. That's interesting. Because for 5 years, I was the nothing. The quiet bank account. The invisible pair of hands that kept this roof over your heads. Jade's mouth opened, closed. She looked smaller without her designer armor. I walked past them to the counter and set my keys down. The clink loud in the stripped bare room. You assumed it all belonged to the house, I said. But every appliance, every piece of furniture, every light bulb I replaced after you let them burn out, paid for with my paycheck. Mine. Mom's eyes glistened. We didn't think you'd strip the place like a foreclosure. You didn't think. I agreed. That was always the problem. Jade found her voice, sharp and shaking. What about the joint account? Dad's insurance money. I checked. It's empty. The air shifted. I felt the moment the ground tilted under them. I leaned back against the counter, arms loose at my sides. That money's been gone for 4 years. Jade, I've been covering the mortgage alone since you were busy posting honeymoon photos. Her face went slack. No, Mom said there was at least 40,000 left. She promised. Mom wouldn't meet her eyes. Jade turned slowly, like someone waking from a dream and realizing it was a nightmare. Tell me she's lying, Mom. Mom's lips parted, but nothing came out. Tell me, Jade said again, louder, voice splintering. You begged me to come home. You said we'd be fine. You said the insurance would carry us. I thought, Mom started. You thought wrong, I finished gently. You spent it. The bathroom remodel. The new kitchen counters. The used Lexus you surprised Jade with for her wedding. Ring any bells? I reached into my bag and pulled out a thin folder of receipts I'd kept for this exact moment. I laid them on the counter like evidence. Jade stared at the papers like they were written in fire. You used Dad's money. On a car. Her voice broke on the last word. Mom's hands fluttered uselessly. I didn't want you to worry. You were so happy. Jade laughed, a raw, ugly sound. Blake got fired 2 months ago. We've been drowning in debt, sleeping on a friend's couch some nights, and you told me to come home because money was waiting. She looked at me, eyes wild. You knew. You knew, and you let us walk into this. No, I said. I just stopped cleaning up after you. Mom sank into one of the 2 folding chairs someone must have bought in panic. The only furniture left. Please, Ivy, she whispered. Help us. You're the only one who knows how to fix things. The plea hung between us. Fragile as spider silk. I felt something inside me soften for half a heartbeat, then harden again, stronger than before. You told me I was doing you a favor by existing here, I said. You wanted Jade. You have her. Jade flinched like I'd slapped her. I pulled a final white envelope from my bag and placed it beside the receipts. My last mortgage statement. I said. 6 years left. Fixed rate. Payments are reasonable when someone has a job. Mom stared at it like it was a death notice. Jade's voice dropped to a terrified thread. We can't pay that. We can't pay anything. I know, I said. The silence that followed was the loudest thing I'd ever heard. 2 women who'd spent years telling me I was dull. Plain, unnecessary. Now staring at the ruins of the story they'd told themselves. Jade's shoulders began to shake. Not dramatic tears this time, real ones. The kind that come when the mask finally cracks all the way through. Mom just sat very still. Suddenly old in a way grief had never made her look. I picked up my keys. I'm not heartless, I said quietly. If I were, I would have drained the checking account too. I left the $32.18 that were actually yours. Jade made a sound halfway between a laugh and a sob. Mom finally looked up, eyes wet. I'm sorry, Ivy. The apology floated there, 5 years too late. I met it with a small, steady smile. I know you are. Now you get to live with it. I walked to the door. Behind me, Jade whispered, You took everything. No, I said without turning. I left you exactly what you gave me. Nothing. The door clicked shut behind me. Soft as a heartbeat stopping. 4 weeks later, a neighbor texted, The house sold fast. Way under asking. They're in a 1-bedroom across town now. Jade works the early shift at a bakery, hands dusted in flour instead of designer rings. Mom types insurance forms at a dentist's office, probably thinking about Grace every time she answers the phone. Blake. Still looking for that perfect blazer opportunity. I guess my studio is small, mismatched, perfect. I cook when I want. Sleep diagonal across the bed just because I can. Wake up without bracing for the first cutting remark of the day. Last week, they offered me the lead position. I turned down years ago. I said yes without hesitation. This morning, I sat in that cafe Mom used to call pretentious. cappuccino, steaming, book open, sunlight on my face. And I smiled at nothing and everything at once. They thought they were trading me in for something better. Turns out I was the only thing of value in that house, and now I'm gone. If you've ever been the one holding everyone else together while they treated you like furniture, listen closely. One day you'll realize the furniture was the foundation. Remove it. And watch how fast the whole pretty picture collapses. Then walk away. Love, you were never the spare part. You were the whole damn engine. If this story of quiet, delicious freedom stirred something in you, share it with someone who needs to hear they're allowed to choose themselves. Because sometimes the most romantic love story is the one where you finally fall in love with your own life.